Alright guys, if you look over there, you'll see that there's some construction going on. And I have finally, after getting the honeycomb and getting everything put on my D1 the way I want it, I have finally decided that it is time for me to build an enclosure. So it's not going to be like the traditional enclosures. I've got a few ideas kicked around, but I'm going to be modifying my vacuum table as well and trying to get that table to be as low profile as possible. That way I can have a taller box around the X tool. And if you're interested in that and want to see what we're going to be doing here, just stick around. I'll update you as I go. Alright guys, I got the tear out done. I've got it all the way down to the actual table itself, and this is my base for the vacuum setup. So I've had to do some adjustments to it to try to pull it out from the wall, because my new build that I'm going back with is going to be a lot taller and a lot more robust, and it's also going to have a back wall in it. So I'm having to retrofit everything as I go out with it. As you can see, I've got the this was my original spoil board that I made into a vacuum table, but it's got a bunch of holes in it over time that I put in there. But I am I've just cut some small boards. And one thing that I did notice is I'm glad to be doing this, because I've got a lot of scrap wood laying around, so I'm trying to use some of that up. But to give you an idea of what is about to happen here, I'm trying to go for a little bit lower profile on my vacuum table. Right here, this is my vacuum hose here that goes to the vacuum outside. What I'm fixing to do now is I'm going to build this thing. Instead of having the 2x4 here, I'm going to get those extra 3 inches or so back, and I'm going to have this piece here and that's going to provide my air gap. Now I'm going to have to cut this down a little lower to make sure that the table doesn't hit it. But then once I do that, I'm going to be going back with just the steel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the steel back on here, but I'm going to have some of these strips here. I'm going to build me a grid inside this thing, and that way there is some support on this as far as a tabletop. But I don't need that piece of wood anymore. I'm going to take that out. Now that I'm using the honeycomb, as long as the corners are secure and the honeycomb sitting on there, and this piece of metal can't go anywhere, I think we're going to be good on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a frame out of these 1x1s all around all 4 corners, and then I'm going to use some of these spare little pieces to put some support in the middle. But I'm going to leave it to where the air can channel through there for the vacuum. So I'm going to get back to work, and I'll update you shortly. Alright guys, I've got the box. I've got it back secured to my table the way I wanted it. I slid it out from the wall a little bit to allow me room on the back side to connect the exterior walls. And this will have, it'll have a wall on the inside right there, just a slight covering. But as you can see, this is just a frame basically. And then in the middle, I have these little trusses here, but I left air gaps so that it can collect the air through these holes. And this is the piece that goes on top, the metal plate. And it just sits on here like that, and it will attach. And then once it attaches, when I turn the air on, the air that's flowing through these channels underneath here, there's holes in this piece of metal that allows that air to be pulled down and disposed of. Now, the honeycomb will be directly above this, so there's not any holes inside the work area, because if there were, that would permit the light from the laser to go into the bottom and burn the wood. So the holes that you see are all outside the area that is that is covered by the laser itself. And then once the honeycomb sits on here, the honeycomb kind of goes over the edge of those holes, and it'll sit in there kind of like that. And that has the draw, the air draw going right down the edge of the honeycomb on both sides. And then once I get this thing completely enclosed, the only air intake will be in the top. That way it'll pull all the air, come in at the top, go down, pull the air out, and dispose of it. So this new lower profile is going to help me with, I've been losing some space here with the honeycomb and everything. So I'm trying to drop this thing back down and get it back down to a little bit lower level. And I'm also going to be putting the camera inside my enclosure that I'm building. And I've got this new little camera, but I need the camera to be about right here with the workspace there. And that'll give me, like if I'm a measuring tape, guys, I have lost it. The walls of my box are going to be 24 inches. And so that's going to put the ceiling right here, which if you look, and that'll give me about 21 inches from the camera to the work bed, and I'm hoping that's enough. So I'm gonna get back to work and try to get this thing finished. All right, guys, I've got a few of the side boards up. The top. Once I get all of these boards on there, this is my top. It's already put together, and this is gonna sit up here. And the way I've got it built, it'll slide right underneath my little plugs here, and it should line up with these pieces here. Right now, these are just kind of freestanding. I got one screw holding them in the bottom, but once I put this top on, if you notice, I've got some runners here and here, and I've got a 1/2 inch space here. That's going to allow these boards to come in, and then I'll put some screws through here to kind of tie everything together and sturdy it up. And I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do, if I want to put some hinges on the top to where a piece of it hinges up or not. But for now, it's going to just stay like it is. And I'm going to bring these little sides, I'm going to bring them out even with this. And that way, when I'm over here working on another burn file, I don't have to worry about glancing over and seeing the laser. And also, this should help because I've got it pretty much sealed off in here to where the vacuum table, when it's on, it's going to be pulling the air inside here. And this box isn't going to be completely airtight. The front's still going to be open, and so it should draft the air in and down and keep all my smoke contained. So, and that's going to give me plenty of height right here to hopefully mount my new camera that I've got. It's a real tiny, small camera, and I'm going to mount it up here, and hopefully that'll help me out on that too. So stick around, and I'm going to try to get the rest of this slapped together. See you shortly. All right, guys, I went ahead and did the bullseye test on the camera, and I added me just a little board right here for right now. I'm probably going to end up taking and cutting this and maybe cutting it into a shape, and then I'm going to put me a door of some type on here, but I hadn't quite figured out how I'm going to do that. So for now, I'm just leaving me an opening so that I can get in and out of there and do what I need to do, and still got enough room to get the X tool out if I need to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get you up here, and I'm going to show you how well this camera is targeting, and show you what the camera looks like. All right, guys, right there at the top, the white and black camera back in the corner right above the light, that's my observation camera that I use if I'm cutting grass or somewhere other than watching my laser. But that little tiny thing that you see at the end of that black cable, which I haven't you know, tidied up all my cables and stuff yet because I was waiting to make sure that it was going to stay where it is. But that is the new camera that I'm trying out and testing. So I'm going to get you down here to where you can see what's going on, and I'm gonna go do a little targeting with this. Oh, my GoPro's being weird, guys. I'm gonna go and do a little targeting with this laser. What I did a minute ago is I did this dot, and then I took and updated my overlay, and it was spot on. So I'm gonna move it over here, update my overlay, and I'm gonna target that thing. I'm gonna move it around a couple of times and just see how well this thing holds true. Like I said, this is a very, very tiny camera, but what I did is I went to Lightburn's website and kind of basically looked at the specs of their camera, and I have found a $50 camera that works just as well from Amazon. Alright, so I've got my dot relocated, and I'm going to target right there where it is and see if I can mark it again. And I want to move this thing around 2 or 3 times just to see. And as you can see, the vacuum table is working really well. Pretty accurate, not dead on, but that's pretty accurate there. I'm gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna put another dot on the back side of that. I'm gonna try to put it in the center. Now keep in mind, guys, this is my freehand center, so I'm not 100% sure it's going to be exactly center, but I'm freehanding this dot into the center of that, and we'll see how close it gets. Yeah, the vacuum's working. It's actually a lot quieter now. Alright, so, you know, not perfectly centered. I've still got to figure out some of my settings on this camera and make sure I'm not overlooking anything, but it's doing pretty well. It needs to be a little higher than what it is, I believe, but for the moment it'll work. I don't use the camera to like completely line things up. I still frame, so as long as it's relatively close, I'd be good with it. But yeah, it seems to be hitting a little bit low, so I'm gonna update that. Yeah, it's wiggling a little more on me. I've got to raise that camera up a little bit more, I think. But the way I'm gonna have to do that, and I'm not gonna do it tonight, is I'm gonna take and where it's on that little cross member right there. Let me get you over there where you can see. Where it's on that little cross member right there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch that cross member and put it on the actual ceiling. That's why, I don't know if you can see it, but I've already marked it with a black Sharpie where it needs to be cut at to recess it back. I don't want to cut too much out of that because that is supporting my top, but you know, camera's kind of important, so and I need to move it up just a little more to try to get a little bit better field of view. Alright guys, the shack is a mess, but I have had to cut grass today and work on this in my spare time. I made about 50-something keychains earlier while I was cutting grass. I let those burn. So tonight we're just going to lock the doors, and this mess will be here tomorrow when I get home from work. I'm going to go ahead and retrofit this and try to get my camera elevated to the position that I want it in. And but other than that, like I said, this is going to serve the purpose. What I wanted was something that when I'm sitting here working on another burn or doing something on the computer, I kind of want to be able to block this out from time to time. So that was the reason I went ahead and done the enclosure. That, and as dusty as it is in here, you know, I have to clean mine a lot more on the rails than what I felt like I should, but it's because of the dust from the woodworking and sanding. And so I'm thinking that if I do this and box it in, if nothing else, it'll keep the environmental dust off of it and hopefully make it stay a little cleaner. But anyway, I'm gonna shut down for the night and I appreciate you stopping by. And once I get the bugs worked out of this thing, I promise you a little bit more of a tour. But at least I did kind of give you a few of the steps as I went along in making this. So thanks for stopping by and have a good day.